Hey there, welcome to the James Show, News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Look, I know I have some pop culture holes in my knowledge, but don't judge me too much for this one, because we're doing another edition of First Impressions with the great Del Pullen. And First Impressions is where Del goes and watches the first episode of two TV shows, one contemporary, one classic, and then comes back and reports to you on if it was any good or not, and if he would recommend the whole series. Welcome back, Del, because on today's edition, we're doing Fallout is the new show, but the classic show is the Dick Van Dyke Show. And Sean, the board op, the guy over here that's Dan Bongino's best friend in the whole world, he about fell out of his chair when I told him I've never seen one episode of the Dick Van Dyke Show. Is that shocking to you?
You know, a little bit. It's funny that he almost fell out of his chair when Dick Van Dyke's whole bit is falling over furniture. So that's kind of apropos.
Well, then that was an accident, because like I said, I've never seen it. He's like, you didn't have it in reruns when you were growing up? No, dude, no. You don't understand. Listen, I grew up so far out. We didn't. The cable company didn't run a cable to the trailer out at the end of the dirt road, and so we got air channels for a while. And then one day, my dad went to Radio Shack and got one of those giant antennas that go outside and have the weird grid array, and we could point that sucker at Dallas or Shreveport and get more channels. And then I started catching up. But I've missed a lot of old shows, and apparently I've missed a good one, because Eric Bushman looked at me like I had Stegosaurus plates growing out of my back when I said that.
Yeah, I mean, it's considered a classic. The weird thing is I've seen dozens of episodes of this show. There's 156 of them. I don't think I've ever seen one from beginning to end, because like you said, it's always in the back. It's something going on. It was something to be playing on, when you were sick from school and the Addams Family or Munsters were on or something like that. All
right, so tell me about the Dick Van Dyke Show.
All right, so it starts with the famous Dick Van Dyke. It was 1961 through 1966, ran 5 seasons, won 15 Emmys.
What?
Yeah, it was a crazy big show, dude. Now, Obviously, Dick Van Dyke's a huge name.
Was he a huge name before this?
Yeah, I mean, the reason they put his name on the show is the same reason it was called The Cosby Show, or they give anybody else the name of the show, because his character isn't Dick Van Dyke.
Well,
he's Rob Petrie.
They had the Sandy Duncan show, and she wasn't huge.
Well, I mean, I don't know what to tell you, dude. I don't get to control all of Hollywood. That's just my little corner.
Fair enough. Real quick, just in the spirit of the show, for you, Del Pullen, Dick Van Dyke, dead or alive?
It's alive, right? But right near death.
98 years old. Yeah, you got it. He's alive.
Okay, I thought I just saw him about 2 months ago doing something.
All right, so what's this show about?
Okay, so the pilot is written by the late, great Carl Reiner. I mean, he's famous for working with Mel Brooks and an amazing writer. But basically, Dick plays the head writer of the Alan Brady Show, a fake show. His wife is played by Mary Tyler Moore, and it's kind of his day-to-day life between the office and at home, what's going on. So in the pilot, basically, Mary Tyler Moore is in the kitchen. Her son is sent home from school because another kid at school is sick. She wants to make sure he's not sick, too. We cut to Dick's office. He's there with his writing team. They're kind of crafting the new script for the new episode of the show when his boss, the producer, comes in and invites him to a party at his house with actual celebrities, because in the show, he's just an unknown writer. Back at home, they're talking about, can they leave their son here or not, because Dick really wants to go to this party with other celebrities, and his wife has this real bad feeling about it. Well, he ends up talking her into it. They go to the party, and the whole time they're there, he's performing routines with his writing team, because apparently they used to have a famous kind of vaudevillian type act, and so they're doing singing numbers and comedy bits, and they're entertaining everybody. After that, they get back home after the party, and they find a doctor's bag sitting there, and apparently a doctor was called. The neighbors are there. They're all concerned. Somebody's been injured, but it turns out it's not their son. It was the babysitter who had hit her head on the freezer door. So everything was okay.
That doesn't sound very good at all. That sounds – I feel like I missed something.
Yeah, I will say that as pilots go, this is just – it's not, there's no world building, so it really is just introducing you to the comedy of Dick Van Dyke. What they wanted to lay out in this is what you can expect. It really just was, this show was a showcase to feature Van Dyke's work. I mean, the whole out of it, maybe a third of the whole first episode is him performing comedic bits.
What do you mean? Like, is
Really,
he slapsticky? Is he like, you said he falls out of chairs and stuff?
Oh, my gosh, yes. So ridiculous. So, you've seen Mary Poppins. He plays Bert, and he's just over the top, silly, goofy. He does a lot of pratfalls. They have a lot of witty writing humor, too. They do a lot of, pun jokes, stuff like that, too. It's really like take a writer who's worked, for like somebody like SNL and be like, what's their daily life like if they're a goofy person anyway? Imagine if you were following around basically Conan O'Brien back in the 60s on his day-to-day life. That's what the show is supposed to be. An excuse for this one character to show off his comedic talent.
All right, what's the level of whimsy we're dealing with here? Because this is teetering on the edge of my tolerance here. I don't like the amount of whimsy and slapsticky stuff that's like the Three Stooges, but like a Kramer kind of wacky guy falling all over furniture, that I'm down with. Which one is it closer to?
I would say that it's closer, honestly, to Kramer because it's a lot more about the writing and the word play than it is about just the pratfall. So, it's definitely further away from Three Stooges, which is all physical comedy, and definitely closer to something like Seinfeld, which I know you like, which adds in the shtick on top of the writing.
All right, you've used this term before, and I can't pretend like I know what it means. What's a pratfall?
Okay, it's a fake fall. It's literally just, when somebody goes, oh, hey, and trips and falls on the floor as a joke, that's just called a pratfall in the industry.
Why is it called? Was that short for something?
Yeah, I think Chris Pratt invented it. I don't know, man.
Oh, that makes sense.
I don't get to know everything. Yeah.
Well, that's your job. You're the host. All right. So stay with us. When we get back, Dell is going to take the same approach. He watched the first episode of a new show, Fallout, and we'll go look at that one. We'll get a summary and decide if it's worth watching. I'm assuming that you would recommend the Dick Van Dyke Show as part of my watching repertoire.
I would say catch up on a few episodes. There's some famous ones that are really well known. You watch those, you got it. If you like it, keep watching. If not, you've done yourself a service to watch a few episodes of a classic show. Plenty of other shows based a lot on this.
Now, we already did the Dick Van Dyke Show, which got positive ratings for both the first episode and a high recommendation to continue watching the series. But for this next one, Fallout. For the people who've never heard of this or know anything about Fallout, explain it to them. What is Fallout, Del?
Okay, so Fallout's the new Amazon Prime TV show. It's based on the extremely well-known and best-selling video game series Fallout. Been around forever, and it takes place in a post-apocalyptic world far in the future. Fallout's been always known for being kind of a little gory, but funny, very funny, silly, zany, but very dramatic and exciting, too. It's a first-person shooter game nowadays. And it's a very well-known, famous video game series with a great bit of lore behind it after like 6 or 7 games now over the years.
Now, I don't know about any of the lore behind it. I know it's like a future dystopian 2077 year type thing. But what's the storyline?
So I'll tell you, you definitely don't have to be a fan of the games. I've only played one of them, Fallout 76, myself. Great game, loved it. But you don't have to be a fan of the games to enjoy the show. You'll get more references, but that's it. The show itself stands completely on its own. But it is just now one season, 8 episodes long. First episode is called The End. And basically, it starts with Walton Goggins, if you know who he is, especially if you know of any of Danny McBride stuff.
Walton Goggins? Who's Walton Goggins?
So he plays Boyd Crowder in Justified. He's also the guy with the big teeth in Vice Principals, who's the other vice principal. And the Righteous Gemstones, he's Baby Billy.
Oh, and he was Tig's trans girlfriend in Sons of Anarchy.
Yes, he's one of the best dramatic actors. Yeah, I mean, he's one of the best dramatic actors out there. And when he wants to do comedy, he crushes it in comedy. So he was perfect for this.
Fantastic. So, wait, this is a comedy?
Yes, there's a lot of, especially there's 1 or 2 episodes where they hired just comedians to carry full parts, like Chris Parnell and Fred Armisen play smaller characters, and man, do they play them to comedic perfection.
Fred Armisen's in it. Okay, yeah, so this is a comedy then, because I thought, look, when I saw that they were making a video game on Fallout, I'm like, oh, okay, so this is just like The Last of Us. It's another future dystopian first-person shooter, and we're going to get all
totally
serious.
Different tone.
Sweet.
There's so much action. I would say there's action, gore, but it's kind of silly fun gore, if that makes sense. It is very comedic. It's playful. That's probably the best word is for a dystopian, show. It's extremely playful and silly, but yet then when they do decide to go dramatic, it goes hard dramatic, and it is fantastic, too, when they do.
All right, now, the other thing I need to know about this is based on a video game. You think this would be kid-friendly, but am I going to be watching this and a boob pops out or something?
No. Well,
okay.
There's no nudity, but the gore, I would say, there's enough, especially in the pilot. There's a whole fight scene where I would be like, nope, you don't need to watch that.
So this is not for kids.
Oh, no, definitely not. I mean, at least like 16 and up is probably fine.
Sure,
I don't think there's any problem with that. So basically the plot starts with Walton Goggins plays Cooper Howard, a famous actor, back in, it takes place in 2077, but it's a retro society stuck in from the 1950s onward. Anyway, he's there at a party doing he's an actor who plays a cowboy on screen. So he's there doing a cowboy performance with his daughter, and during the party, atom bombs start dropping across the entire city, just leveling everything. And he scoops up his daughter, gets on a horse, and they ride out. It's the first 3 minutes are just killer. Like, it takes off with a bang. Well, dozens of bangs of big bombs. So it's a fantastic intro. Yeah, it's a fantastic intro. Really hooks you right off the bat. So the way it kicks off is after that, it starts you with Lucy, who's in Vault 33. It starts 219 years later, and everybody in the vault is waiting for the radioactivity to die down so they can go back to the surface. Lucy's supposed to be married to a guy from Vault 32, the next vault over. They have their wedding. Kyle MacLachlan plays the dad and vault leader. He's fantastic. Of course, Dale Cooper from Twin Peaks. So after the wedding, though, they go into coitus, and afterwards it's revealed that all the people from Vault 32 are actually people from the surface who have come down to kill and ravage and pillage Vault 33 for all of its resources. And it jumps between that. Now, that's where the huge fight scene happens. It's gory, it's bloody, but yet I'm not a huge gore fan. Dude, it was a blast. I enjoyed every single bit of it. And it's also very silly the way some of the deaths happen. It's very goofy and yet very entertaining.
All right, this sounds really good. I'm also impressed by the star power, not just the exposition here, but the people also, that are rolled up into this.
Produced and directed by Jonathan Nolan, Christopher Nolan's brother, who co-wrote the story originally for Memento. He's the director and a producer for the whole series. Or director for the first 3 episodes.
All right, so have you seen more than the first episode?
I watched the whole series, and I got to say, I don't want to give everything away, but it went from, the series is an 8 or 9 to begin with. The last half of the last episode kicked it up to a 10, maybe an 11. It's one of the best finales I've seen, I'd say, in 10 years.
Whoa! Whoa!
Hands up. I talked to I have a couple of writer friends that write screenplays as well, and it's one of their favorite things they've seen. So, I mean, it was enjoyable, and those last 30 minutes, man, it just takes you on a whole ride. It's everything you want a Game of Thrones to be in 30 minutes at the end.
Well, I think I'm going to watch that instead of that Dick Van Dyke trash y'all were talking about.
I think you're going to like it a lot better, yeah.
All right.
It definitely is enjoyable.
All right, thank you very much. This is the great Del Pullen with First Impressions. Thanks again, Del.